News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Amy Morris. And there's your closing bell for this Tuesday on Wall Street, where stocks rallied as consumer confidence rebounded and the U.S. and EU sped up trade talks. And, of course, we check those closing numbers for you each day here at Bloomberg. The S&P 500 gained 118 points. That's more than 2% higher. NASDAQ up 462 points. The Dow up 741 points. The 10-year Treasury yield at 4.44%. The 2-year yield at 3.98%. President Trump said he was encouraged the EU is speeding up negotiations on trade just days after he said the bloc would face 50% tariffs if they fail to reach a deal with the U.S. He posted on social media that the EU is looking to establish meeting dates. Now, those tariff talks are helping boost consumer confidence, which rebounded sharply in May from a near 5-year low, jumping more than 12 points to 98. That's the biggest monthly gain in 4 years. Senior economist Stephanie Gashard with the Conference Board tells Bloomberg Intelligence there is still some concern over the labor market.
One thing to note is that the current job situation is the only component of the index that didn't improve this month. So there are still some concern about, where the labor market is going right now.
You can hear more of our interview with the Conference Board Stephanie Gashard on the Bloomberg Intelligence podcast. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has ordered U.S. embassies to stop scheduling interviews for student visas as the Trump administration considers stricter vetting of applicants' social media profiles. Bloomberg's Janet Lauren.
There's more than 1 million international students in the U.S. At a host of schools. And international students, often pay the full price, so they're helping to bolster aid for other students.
Download the Balance of Power podcast to hear that entire conversation with Janet Lauren. Now, State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce says every sovereign country has a right to know who's coming into their country and why.
That's nothing new, and we will continue to use every tool we can to assess who it is that's coming here, whether they are students or otherwise.
The directive is the latest effort by the Trump administration to restrict foreign students' entry into American schools. Richmond Fed President Tom Barkin says elevated uncertainty has led businesses to freeze hiring and hold off on future investment decisions.
There's a lot of questions about what happens when these tariffs are imposed. They may have warned about price increases, but they haven't yet passed on the prices. The customers may accept the price increases or they may not. So we'll just have to see how it plays out.
Hear more from Richmond Fed President Tom Barkin when you download the Bloomberg Open Interest podcast. President Trump cleared Nippon Steel's bid for U.S. Steel on Friday, referring to the deal as a partnership. CNBC now reporting Nippon will acquire U.S. Steel for $55 per share. And Nikkei reports Nippon is considering giving the U.S. government golden shares as a way to move forward. Trump says the deal will bring $14 billion of investment over the next 14 months. Shares of U.S. Steel are about 2% higher. The big earnings event of the week comes tomorrow. Nvidia opening its books for the quarter. We get a preview from Bloomberg's Charlie Wells.
They are expected to post a strong quarter that ended in April, but what analysts are really looking for as well is that forward guidance, and we're expected to see revenue from Nvidia's core chip business expand over the next 4 quarters.
Bloomberg's Charlie Wells. Look for those Nvidia results after tomorrow's closing bell. Shares of Nvidia are about 3% higher. King Charles is in Canada to set out the government's priorities for the new parliament, with heavy emphasis on building new trade relationships. King Charles says the conflicts of today are the most challenging since World War II.
Today, Canada faces another critical moment. Democracy, pluralism, the rule of law, self-determination, and freedom are values which Canadians hold dear, and ones which the government is determined to protect.
Charles opened the Canadian Parliament with a speech widely viewed as a show of support in the face of annexation threats by President Trump. President Trump posted on social media that Russia President Vladimir Putin is, quote, playing with fire. Bloomberg White House editor Jordan Fabian.
From Vladimir Putin's perspective, Trump has shown his hand. He really angled for that meeting between Vladimir Putin, Zelensky, and himself in Turkey to not come to fruition, even though he really tried to speak it into existence. And Putin can sit there and say, this guy is desperate.
Hear that entire conversation with Jordan Fabian on the Balance of Power podcast. COVID shots are no longer on the recommended vaccine schedule for healthy children and pregnant women. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. made the announcement in a video posted on X.
Last year, the Biden administration urged healthy children to get yet another COVID shot despite the lack of any clinical data to support the repeat booster strategy in children.
That ends today. It's common sense and it's good science.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. spoke alongside National Institutes of Health Director Jay Bhattacharya, and Mars has just confirmed its Skittles candies will no longer contain titanium dioxide. That's a chemical used to whiten foods and brighten colors. It's an additive that was targeted by RFK Jr. That's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Amy Morris. This is Bloomberg.